Revolution from your bed. We're back. Um, we have a special guest today. Actually, all my guests are special. We have Elyse Robi, and she's doing something quite remarkable after suffering from chronic illness and health issues herself. She became a productivity coach, and she's doing something really unique with her work. So let's welcome Elyse.
Hi, I'm Elyse Robi. I'm a performance and productivity coach. I help people organize their brain space and their days so they can accomplish more with less effort and in less time.
Okay, you're kind of a
Yeah,
COO, but on a personal level?
yeah, yeah, you could say that.
That's so interesting. And I'm just going to give you an example from my own life. Like, I thought that a lot of my problems can be solved by a personal assistant or sort of, admin that you do remotely. But I realized that actually it created more work for me to just find out how to organize tasks for some other person. Then I realized that it's actually just faster for me to do those tasks. So how you respond to that? Like, how can I uh, be more productive in my daily work?
Well, if the problem you're wanting to solve is to be able to delegate, then you have to know how your task is structured and which parts you can actually delegate or keep for yourself. So once all of that is established, you're in better position to know, should this part be done by someone I know? Should I outsource it? And how? What do I need to teach them first so they can repeatedly do this task for me in the future? So it's about understanding the importance of first setting the framework, teaching them, and then letting go with minimal intervention. You just once in a while have a look and make sure that it's still up to your standards and make sure that you correct issues as they arise, but you don't micromanage.
It's super interesting, and I wanted to kind of ask, how do you become a productivity and performance coach? Like, what happened in your life that led you to the understanding that you have to help other people be more organized and productive in their lives?
Well, I've been a professional pain for my teachers and bosses my whole life. And so from a young age, I was always keeping people accountable and just being like, hold on, hold on, hold on. You just said something, but then your actions are not following what you just said. So what's up here? And I would always point out the gaps and I would always try to bring structure or correct the things that did not make any sense. And so that was my personality growing up. And it was not super popular, let me tell you. So I learned to be more diplomatic about it, obviously. But this always stayed with me. And like you, I also had tough health journey and I had to advocate for myself a lot and to like negotiate and go through all the motions. And so all of that has been stored inside my mind, my body. I've been consuming knowledge. And I was like, what am I going to do with all of this? And this good intention of wanting to help people when working in admin jobs makes me feel like my soul is escaping from my body. Look, I was studying business administration and I felt like this was the path I was supposed to choose, and it sucked. I'm sorry for people that do that for a living. I mean, like you might love it. I just don't. um, some parts of that are interesting, but mostly it was lacking a human element, also creativity, and being able to just see problems and act. Like I'm a really big advocate for taking action. Don't tell me you're gonna do it, just do it, or let's discuss how we're gonna do it if you can't do it on your own. But like, don't just smooth talk this stuff to me and just let it be. Like we have to take action and go forward.
So this is something I would love to break down because, this podcast is about leaving comfort zones in general, and it's
Yeah.
called Revolution from Your Bed because it's literally the to leave the most convenient and comfy and cushiony place that you can be in. Um, and I think that what will resonate with a lot of the listeners here is the fact that they really want to take control over their lives.
Mhm.
Whatever, we have a lot of entrepreneurs listening, but we also have a lot of people with chronic illness. And I want to kind of connect the dots. So your journey with chronic illness led you to understanding then that improving the processes that are involving in your work and life can actually better help you better navigate healthcare system, which is for me very interesting approach for health navigation in general. And on the other hand, the subject of accountability is something that is more on the mental aspect of being stuck. And people with chronic illness, a lot of time they have limiting beliefs or false beliefs, and they don't believe in themselves that they can be better, that they can go back to the working world. So let's discuss that first, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. You want to discuss the part where they have those limiting beliefs?
Absolutely.
Okay. I've been there. I've had them. Ever since I was a kid, I was in pain. And so I kind of learned to live with it because I saw specialists and they all told me that I just needed to like have more stability in my shoulders or whatever. And I did PT and I did all of the stuff I was supposed
Yeah.
to do. And the ultimate answer was just like, well, you're just like that. Like you're made like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I internalized that just like, the elephant that's with the little rope and,
Yeah.
and the stick and it just stays there. I internalized that growing up. And for me, it kind of became normal to be suffering after every physical activity or, you know, so I was playing the violin in an orchestra and I had to stop all the time, spend months and months like not playing and then trying to catch up to my peers and all that stuff. And of course, you get limiting beliefs. Of course, you feel like, why am I not able to do the things that they're doing? And sometimes my arms would hurt so much that I would just like prop up my shoulder blade on my chair and hold my violin like this so I could like at least rest my shoulder and still play. And I had to find all those micro hacks in order to be able to keep up with people. And while it's it's annoying, it's the truth. And I was working with the spoons with before knowing it was a thing. I
Yeah.
mean, wake up, you have this amount of energy, okay, I can probably afford to do this before it gets too painful. And so you have to make the most out of your time and you have to be in a good headspace because if you're not, then it's not going to be a good day.
Yeah. Definitely.
So definitely I have absolutely felt that, and the more time you spend in your bed, the more you feel like life is slipping away from you and others are going forward but you're not, and the society is not built for people who have an invisible issue or illness or injury, because you're still expected to show up to work, you're still expected to do the
Yeah.
groceries and to feed your family, and there's no break from that. So of course all of those feelings are entirely valid, but I chose to see, okay, what can I do, what is it that I can do from my bed or from my house or with the little arms that I had. Like we joked around and I just said that I was a T-Rex because I would never like lift
Yeah.
my shoulders
Yeah.
and stuff. But yeah, I just decided to make the most of it. But the thing is, you have to push through the pain sometimes because, as I had a great discussion with someone about this exactly that said, "Well, why didn't you reach out to other people to get their support?" And that's the thing with people that have never experienced it. You think that people will understand if you tell them or show them, but they can't. And they will understand the first 10 times
Yeah.
that you decline an activity or that you say, no, I cannot hold those bags, they're too heavy for me. But at some point, some part of them will start to believe that you're just being lazy or avoiding things. And it will eventually lead to not being invited to things anymore, or, So there's this isolation that comes with chronic pain that is really, really hard to shake. And even with the best intentions, it's just something we have to live with. So those limiting beliefs, they take root in that loneliness, in that feeling that time is not passing the same way for you as it is for others.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, absolutely. I'm just stressed. It's very hard for me to hear because I'm an empath and I've been through it exactly. And it's
Yeah.
always hurting my soul to hear that other people suffer. And we all have the same things in common. We all have limiting beliefs. We all have limiting amounts of spoons or energy units. We all feel gaslighted and ignored and lonely. Um, and this lonely journey is leading us to either be more depressed and stay in bed,
Mhm.
or go into this loop of trying to find the remedy and it's a bit better and then worse, so on. But only a handful of people are really taking it by, as many hands and they can lift and do something about it. And it's just for me so wonderful to hear that, you took it to your own type of personality and just made a profession out of it. So I wanted to ask you, you you live with this pain and uncertainty. This is a great theme that we all experience. Do you think that the uncertainty around your own life led you to the belief that you want to help other people make their life a bit more certain, maybe?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, when I talk to people and see that they have similar problems, I am delighted to be able to help them and say, like, look, I've been through this. And the best way you can approach this problem is XYZ. And saving them time in my mind is the best thing I can do because time is so precious when you have good days. And so you have to use it efficiently while you can. And I'm working with people right now that have chronic illness and disability, and I'm helping them set up their work so a lot can be done in the back end
Yeah.
and the business can still run while they have their bad days. And so, no, absolutely. For me, it was very important to see that I had something to contribute. I felt isolated for a long time, just like you, and wasn't sure what my place was because if you don't fit into society, where do you fit?
Exactly.
Um, but then at some point, I was like, you know what? I've been through so many things, and also like I have thyroid disease, and I still had to fight 2 years and a half for that.
Yeah.
And I've been told it was in my head, or that young people were just lazy or depressed, like all of it. But yeah, like I've done it many times since childhood, and every time I come to the conclusion that mindset is a big thing because even if sometimes it's frustrating and you want to yell at people but you can't,
Yeah.
um, or you just want to be like, "Come on, man! It's not costing you to just help me out on this
Yeah.
one." Like, there's no
Yeah.
there for the thyroid medication. There was no ill effect that I could have had from
Yeah.
trying out a treatment, and they
Yeah.
still denied it. So dealing with this kind of frustration and figuring out ways and doing research has helped me so much in structuring my thoughts and my mind and knowing that I had to speak with doctors that don't necessarily care that much about feelings. I'm not saying that they don't, but in a professional setting, they might tend to be more logical, analytical. Um, it's like a different language. So I learned that language and I learned the techniques, and now I'm passing them on to other people, and not just people with chronic illness. I mean, I'm helping creatives too for now. I want to help women in STEM because they're facing a very particular set of problems in the workplace. And so I do think that this is where I'm supposed to be. Okay. So yeah, all those skills and this positivity that I've learned to cultivate in myself, and that structure that I have in my brain, I am also wanting to bring this to other people in the workplace, especially like females in STEM, female engineers. A lot of them, like the retention rates are not that great. They face a particular set of issues in the workplace. So I want to see what it is that I can do to help women go further and remove those blocks that they have, either like real issues that they have with boundaries or mindset in the workplace, or personal that they might have in their own heads. So there's a ton of work to be done, and a ton of people that can absolutely do way more than they believe that they can. So I'm trying to find those gems, those diamonds in the rough, and help
So
polish them so they can, yeah.
this is super interesting work that you do, but why specifically? I understand why you want to empower women. We all know that this world is completely unequal towards women, and in general, we have a gender gap that is unacceptable. We feel it dramatically in healthcare too. But why women in STEM specifically? And you can explain more about STEM. It will maybe help people who never heard about this acronym before. So, Elise, like, I understand that you want to help empower women. We have a huge gender gap. It's completely unfair, and the problem we see in health equity when it comes to gender is outrageous, to say the least.
Mhm.
But you come from chronic illness yourself. You want to help people with chronic illness, people in general, women, but you mentioned women in STEM. So explain to us what STEM stands for and why specifically women in STEM.
Yeah, so STEM is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And women in STEM, well, I'm interested because these women are so damn powerful and they don't know it. They go through engineering, they're in classrooms full of men, and this bro culture follows them in the workplace and makes them their lives miserable. And I have worked in male dominated environments, and I have felt some of that pain of, being told to bring coffee or do all the crappy stuff that just because they won't ask your male counterpart to do it. And so I do understand the consulting engineering side, and my mind tends to be like more analytical, and I really relate to people that think in a similar way. So I think this is my area of most impact. I think I'll be able to work better with people that crave that structure and that have this way of thinking. But that's just my approach. Like I've been told I have a very candid honesty thing about myself. And so I think these people can really take the kind of feedback that I give in a way that will help them.
Super interesting. I think that honesty and vulnerability are a rare commodity in our world now. So I would prefer everybody to be, of course, vulnerable, but also honest instead
Mhm.
of being too polite and not express what they feel. What you just said about STEM, it's hitting me in different places because I also in my original bachelor degree, I'm basically a STEM teacher, so it's very. I think it's kind of a very strong base that we can not only educate people but also empowering people. And for me, what you're trying to do is empowerment, and the tool that you choose is coaching those analytical skills that sometimes are hard for other people. You break it down to them. Like, that's how I see what you're doing. You can correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
No, absolutely.
So if we're talking about empowerment, like, how do you think that your work can empower different groups of people?
Okay, so well, right now I'm working with two women that have ADHD, and they have tremendous potential, but they are all over the place, and so they do a little bit of everything, but they don't feel like they're getting anything done, and that vicious cycle makes them believe that they are very far away from achieving their dreams or building the business that they want. So by focusing on that part of their mind, I can help them do some time blocking, get some strategies. I send them accountability check-ins, and I have a VIP access that they can, always
Yeah.
contact me on. So every time they feel overwhelmed, they just send me a message, and I break it down for them so they can keep going. And my goal is to get them to be independent by the end of the program. I'm doing 3 and 6 months for now. So at the end, I told them, I want to see you go away. Not because I don't love you, obviously I do, but I want you to be independent. I want you to apply this structure to your own mind, to your days, and to be able to have those new habits build up over time so that you're comfortable leaving me at the end.
I think it's a very nice business model because the coaching industry is completely fragmented. And in many countries, there is no requirement for any certification. And it's something that's risen up here in the podcast, but also in my personal life. A lot of times that people really like coaching and want to be coached, but it's so hard to find a good coach. And usually coaches are charging by the hour, so they have a full interest for you to just stay forever. But I think that people like me, and you mentioned neurodivergent people. I'm also in this group because of my PTSD and ADHD. So I think that for me, I need some sort of clarity and kind of projection of what's ahead of me. If I know there is a 3 months process, I will be much more in tune with the coach than if it's like a 2 year unknown. So this is something that I think that you're doing absolutely great, and I want to kind of pull you back for a second
Yeah.
to the last question. Entrepreneurs like me, we really face a lot of problems with self-management. And it really corresponds with chronic illness as well, like chronically ill entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, but in general, entrepreneurs and self-management is something that it's not always working right. And I would like to discuss with you this, like, how do you see this role of things that we can do ourselves, maybe even? I want people to come and be your clients, of course. But is there any set of tools that we can use to improve this?
Yeah, I just posted one yesterday on my Instagram. It's a matrix to help you prioritize your tasks. Basically, one of the big things that I encounter in my work and my relationships is the heavy mental load
Yeah,
that people carry. And, they're always trying to focus on one thing, but then they have stuff popping up in their heads like, oh, I forgot to do this. Oh, I need to do that, and they have a list of all that stuff that floats around and that occupies their brain
yeah,
24/7. They wake up at night thinking about those things.
yeah.
So basically what I'm saying is you don't have to carry all that. You can put it down on paper, you can make a list, or you can use the matrix I just posted, which is basically telling you to classify your tasks in order of urgency and importance. So
Yeah.
obviously, in one quadrant, you have urgent and important, and this is what you want to tackle first. And then things that are more long term, like learning a new skill, building relationships, they are also important, but they're less urgent. So you can, schedule that or do it later. And some of the tasks are not urgent and not important. So you can just automate them with tools like Zapier, or, you can use tools like Asana, Trello, Jira. And the last quadrant is delete. Delete it. It's not important. It's not urgent. Scrap that. You don't need it in your brain. So that's just one of the tools. But, you get the gist of it.
Some of the things you said just hit me like a lightning for a second because I just realized that I put the same priority sometimes that annoying package I have to collect from the Amazon station or and a business phone call that I've been paid for, so on. So I just realized after you were explaining this that sometimes people are actually confusing priorities and they let things overwhelm them. And this
Yes.
matrix is a wonderful example, and I will link Elise's link to the website uh, in the episode description. I want to pick up on that because you were talking already 2 times here about automation, and I think now it's time to delve deep about it. People like me are
Mhm.
dreading administration, really. It's the part that I hate about my work, like the invoices, the offers, the I'm flying like 3, 4 times a month at least for my work and all this organization. Like, is there any way that people that listening now, a lot of them are aspiring entrepreneurs, a lot of them are chronically ill patients, and it doesn't have to be somebody with a business, right? You can automate a lot of things also as a private person. So I would love you to expand on that.
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, you can use tools like I said. I use Zapier, and it's not sponsored or anything. But like, what I do is that when I have a coaching session, um, my recording gets analyzed by a tool in AI that gets extracts all the data and the key points and the main ideas, and that sends that to my Google Drive for a backup and splits them into tasks that go straight into my Asana board.
Wow, this is so
And
cool.
then I can move those tasks around to different priorities or different parts. Yeah, and then I make sure that they don't fall or they don't slip through the cracks, and I can say, oh, we talked about this like 3 weeks ago. Where are you on that thing? So it helps me have a visual. I'm a visual person, so I make
Mhm.
everything visual for myself. And eventually, when I have more resources, I would love to be able to gamify the process even more, because that's also like a big thing for me. I've always been a gamer, even like starting as a kid, retro consoles and everything.
Yeah,
So I think there's a lot of things we can learn about perseverance and structure from games.
me
So
too.
I would like to be able to implement that in my coaching.
This is
Yeah.
super interesting. I'm also a gamer, ever always have been. It's super interesting that you actually, now that I look at it from macro perspective, you don't only have to take care of your own schedule. You basically are the kind of COO of your clients, which might sound like a daunting task, but actually you automate everything. Can you share with us the name of the AI extension that is helping you there?
Yeah, some people use Otter AI, but
Yeah.
for me, it hasn't worked well with my accent. So I'm using TLDV.
Hmm.
I have a link. Maybe I can send it to you. But so far, it's been working really great. And you can also have timestamps and create short clips of the points that were discussed on each topic. So you can really classify everything that has been said and done so it doesn't go to waste, because we never have time to go back and listen to the recordings from scratch. So this is my way of making sure that everything is there, and then I upload those notes for my clients to look at. um, so yeah, no, I automate this part because I feel like this is where I get the most value for them. We can
This,
look back and see, like, this is the problems you were facing when you first came in, and look, now those problems have evolved into newer problems, but problems that we love solving more than the
yeah,
ones before.
yeah. I noticed your we some people are listening to us, but we also have a video version of it, and we are on a video call because Elise is in Canada and I'm in Austria at the moment. But your light shone for a second when you were talking about it, because like I felt it's kind of your true passion, um, and it made me think something that kind of annoyed me, not about you, but about healthcare, that we have so many tools today to do transcribing and analyzing of conversations, but it's rarely used in healthcare, and doctors have to use handwriting or typing very slowly. And I had a startup who tried to solve it at one point, and at the best case scenario, there is 70% of the information that the doctor needs that actually he or she receives during the meetup. But when we try to fix healthcare and prevent other people to go through what we're doing, I think that your approach can be super insightful for healthcare. Just for you, kind of to have another kind of a light bulb maybe there somewhere in your head. I think that um, doctors are not using enough technology, but this is a huge problem that maybe you and me cannot solve together. But maybe if we can expose those metrics to patients as part of patient education programs, and also for doctors and other healthcare professionals, it might be beneficial for all of us patients.
Definitely, but there's concern about safety and privacy when you go into the medical field, obviously,
Of course.
medical records and stuff getting leaked. So I don't know how feasible that would be for us to attack on that front, but definitely it needs to be incorporated more and more. But my approach as a patient has been to document my own things
Yeah,
and to make links between my stuff. So you're kind of left sorting it out by yourself.
yeah.
Um,
You
but yeah,
build.
I totally hear you. You're like, wow, this is antiquated. This is like ridiculous, but there's not much we can do.
Yeah,
They will have to develop tools that have been approved for that.
yeah. In North America, you have the HIPAA 5 standards and so on, and in Europe, it's much more kind of restricted and tight. But the funny thing is that we have data leaking from all over the internet, but
Mhm,
this little problem to solve when anonymizing data, there are very few simple solutions that can help prevent it. And we have so many state-of-the-art solutions for everything, but nobody touches almost health IT because it's the unsexiest part of helping patients and doctors or HCPs alike. I think that eventually, when we talk about productivity and performance, a lot of time people look at it, from the bottom line perspective, money perspective, and I will share my honest opinion with you. I don't like the toxic productivity trend.
mhm.
I think that we have a lot of kind of fake gurus that are basically telling people to skip sleep and meals just to hustle. And I know that you're not like this because you don't have enough spoons to be like this. How would you recommend somebody like us to not only make their life easier in terms of processes, but actually maybe you can help them save some spoons? So how would you suggest for somebody like us with a chronic illness, chronic pain that wants to start performing better, automating, and so forth?
Yeah, so I absolutely hear you on the toxicity of the hustling mindset. I am not like that. What I'm doing is helping people in their current circumstances figure out where the time wasters are and how they can better function within the confines of their situation, or how they can actually make them stretch a little bit and gain a little bit of freedom from them. um, so yeah, concerning the spoons, I still have my spoons because of hypothyroidism.
Yeah.
But for my shoulders, I've had my two surgeries, one after the other. So soon, Valentine's Day is going to be 1 year anniversary of my first surgery.
So happy for
And
you.
yeah, yeah, me too. So this has been amazing. And, even when my surgeon told me it's not in your head, I did not take it seriously because I was like waiting for the shoe to drop. I was like, okay, let's just do the
Yeah.
surgery and then
Yeah.
so. But yeah, that's
This is a big statement for me when officially I got my diagnosis after almost more than 7 years. I literally sat there and I had tears in my eyes, and the doctor didn't understand what's going on with me. That the first time somebody told me it's not in your head and not just not it's all in your head. I think that um, it's such a wonderful thing to get this feeling of trust and trusting yourself also, because you're starting to disbelieve in yourself, like maybe it really is all in my head, right? um, and it leads me to think about the last topic that we haven't covered yet, which is
yeah.
accountability.
But wait, hold on. I realized that it was a two-part question, so I want to go back and not let it slide.
Yes, you're
Uh,
right, you're right.
gonna keep us accountable here. Okay, so how do we, if I understood the question correctly, it's about how do we make sure that we use our spoons in a way that best serves us without going into the hustle culture.
Yeah,
All right. So basically, what I do is basic life hygiene. Like I ask my clients, okay, how many hours of sleep do you get? How many do you need? What would you like to change in terms of habits? Do you eat? One of my clients just told me I don't eat most of the time when I'm in my zone or when in my flow because I forget or I don't feel like stopping to make food.
yeah, yeah,
So I'm like, okay, let's explore that. Let's see how we can automate food or bring it to its simplest form so you don't have to keep thinking about what
yeah.
to eat. This is the hardest part.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part.
Yeah.
And so I'm looking at exercise, and I'm not going to tell them to wake up at 5 to do it because I won't do that. Like, I'm trying to be honest here.
Yeah.
I'm a mom of two, and
Oh,
I have
really? I
my
didn't know you have a family.
yeah, I do, and I have
Wonderful.
two huskies too.
Wow. So more COO work to do. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna tell people to do stuff I wouldn't do myself, you know? So no, you don't have to work out at 4 a.m. to. You just have to better plan your day, your life, and just put it on your schedule, and you treat it as a work commitment. You know, if you, I have a client that needed to incorporate some walks, so I said, "When are you gonna go?" Oh, well, when the kids are asleep, sometime during the week. No,
Yeah.
okay, 3 times a week, block it on your calendar now.
Yeah.
That's a work commitment. You
Yeah.
don't you don't change that. And she did, and she's still doing it
That's wonderful.
because it's a commitment to herself.
But I think this is exactly this thing about accountability, because I had so many excuses to myself over the years, and I knew that if I want to ever feel better with POTS syndrome, it's like a very strange balancing act between not exercising too much because you have exercise intolerance, and not exercising too little because then you're back to bed in a week or two. And what really helped me eventually was this promise and commitment to myself that I felt really bad. It's like not showing up for a date or something. This is how I felt on days that I didn't do my rehabilitation hour, for example. So how can we hold ourselves more accountable?
Well, first of all, I would say compassion. Compassion for yourself. I
Mm,
mean, you're going through a lot of tough stuff, and missing your workout or your appointment, well, not the appointment, but the physical work
yeah,
is not the end of the world. Like, if you miss one day, okay, then you pick up the next and you try to keep going. But compassion, because if you try to shame yourself into a new habit, how is that gonna stick?
yeah,
That makes
that's
no
true.
sense.
Com-
So I make sure with my clients, I'm sorry, I make sure with my clients that there's a safe space and we can discuss those things openly and just be like, okay, you're feeling ashamed that you haven't completed this task, but is shame really the best response? Like, can we change that to something else? And just being like, okay, I understand I didn't get to do this week. How can I manage to put it on my calendar for this week and make sure that it gets done first? And it's just about being proactive. What is it that I can do to keep moving forward and not getting stuck on the past
yeah,
or being like, oh no, I'm so bad I didn't do it? That's not, no, that's not how you do it.
thank you. It's really interesting that you mentioned compassion here. Like I realized that in our journey in general, the thing that is missing the most is compassion from our
Yeah.
doctors, caretakers, families, and mainly to ourselves, because we have such a bad relationship with our own bodies. But only when I started to act towards my own body and illness with compassion, I found the space for healing. And it's the first time I ever speak to somebody, and that's why I like this podcast so much, this platform, that connects the hard analytical part with the compassion. For me, it's really really exciting that this thing can live in the same realm. Do you want to say anything about that? This connection between compassion in life in general and those processes that are maybe perceived more as analytical?
Yeah, I can absolutely try. Okay, so basically what I'm thinking is that when you want to grow, it has to come from a place of curiosity, and it has to come from a desire to do something. And I think that when you find that passion and work towards it, everything kind of falls into place, and then interventions are kind of minimal to keep you on that road. But when you're trying to force yourself into something that does not work for you, obviously
Yeah,
that's a tougher sell. But I think that we have to bring back the human into the work.
Yeah.
I think our minds, our ideas are often dismissed because they don't necessarily fit this quarter's
Yeah.
numbers. And I have worked in a job at some point that told me, like, you're too bubbly, you're too positive, and it annoys me. She
Yeah.
really told me, I need you to stop being like that. You come in at 8, you clock in, you type on the computer, and at 5, you clock out and leave. You don't need to know your colleagues. You don't need to socialize. You don't need to do any of that. Please just, shut it and type. And I
Wow.
did not last very long in that job because it was as toxic as it sounded.
Wow.
But it messed me up emotionally, even if I consider myself to be resilient AF,
Yeah.
like really resilient. I left there and felt like if my whole personality was flawed. And that's the thing. You Some people can try to steal that light from you, and some people are insecure and will push your buttons or press
Yeah.
where it hurts to make you feel insecure. And so I like thinking that when we are stuck in our bodies, we have a chance to develop our minds. And that's what I've been doing all those years. Like last year during the holidays, I could not pick up a book. I couldn't hold a book. I couldn't write. I couldn't do anything because my shoulders were so inflamed
Wow.
and terrible. And I have been told all my life, one of my teachers when I was studying dance, because that's a story for another time, but I was studying dance when I was younger in school, told me that it was my fault that I was in pain and that if I really wanted to be better, I would just do what it takes to get better, which I was already doing. But I internalized that and I felt ashamed and I felt like all those hobbies, all those passions that I had to give up, like the violin, like ballet, like drums, piano, all those things that needed arms and that a T-Rex could not do. Um, I I kind of internalized that shame and kept it with me for years. And so when I went under the knife and he told me, "Oh my God, that's so messed up. I've never seen someone your age with that much damage." That validated that I was not being just too much or dramatic. Like it was really a problem that I could not solve. And they ended up removing a lot of my bones in my, like the
Wow.
bone
Yeah.
of the acromion
Yeah.
and a part of my clavicle on both sides too. So now I can move freely.
Wow.
But it was a physical block. My bones were rubbing against each other, tearing through my tendons for all my life.
Wow.
And I thought it was just me that was weak and wouldn't follow and be able to do sports and all that stuff because people told me that so many times that I believed them. And so
Wow.
that's that's for me a very key point that you have to be in tune with your emotions and you have to show compassion. And for people that don't have a chronic illness, if you don't understand, don't take a stand. Maybe
Yeah.
just just be like, okay, I have not been in your shoes and I don't know the depth of the despair or the loneliness or the shame that you're carrying, but I can relate in a way that we're all human
Yeah.
and we're all being dealt a lot of crap through our lives. So if we can just like uplift each other a little bit and make it better, sometimes that's all a person needs
Yeah.
to find the strength to go to the next level.
Yeah. Because I think
Yeah.
that the motivation you see with your clients also, it will not come from pressing them too hard or being mean to them. I think it's all about compassion. Our doctors are what they are and treating us so poorly in many cases because they've been treated with no compassion by their peers. Because, like your teacher thought when she was a student that she has to break her legs and arms to be a good dancer, most doctors are being abused by their superiors because when they were younger, they were abused by their superior. It's this kind
Yeah.
of traditions of lack of compassion and pushing it until the body fails. And I think that resilience is a great way to deal with it, but also compassion as a theme for life is something that I'm trying to carry with me everywhere I go. And I noticed that you do it a lot in your work because, yeah, I've tried different types of coaching, and sometimes it's so funny that somebody just acting like it is your boss and being kind of very rough, like this tough love with you. And for us chronically ill patient, I'm not sure it's the right approach.
No, 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 no. And I mean, just with everyone, I will not be the hard ass coach. I will
Yeah.
not tell you that you have to give up something. Well, obviously, you always have to give up a little bit of
No.
something when you choose the alternative. But I mean, I'm not going to ask you to make huge changes just so you complete the program and then feel like, oh my God, I'm so awesome, and just lose it 2 weeks after.
Okay.
Like, what I do
Yeah.
is I empower people and I lift them up and I show them that they are able to build this cascade of little wins
Hmm.
that brings them into a better state of mind. And for me, when I was feeling stuck in my body, having goals was the best thing, because then you have a reason to try and get out of bed. You have a reason to learn. Um, I feel like the worst parts are when you wander around and you feel lost, because then why are you doing all of this for? So when you have a goal and you have someone that helps you go towards that goal and take steps when you don't know what steps you should be
Yeah.
taking,
Yeah.
for me, that's the gift. That's what I'm trying to give people.
It's just incredible that every time that I'm meeting with such an awesome human being, and it's always this professional excuse, but then it's very, very like it's escalated very fastly, like to this place of vulnerability, and we all share so much in common. This is so wonderful to hear. Like I didn't plan those questions, right? We just went with the flow, and it's just amazing that these themes are keeping on coming back. And I think that
Hmm.
in Judaism, like we have this sentence that if somebody cannot uh, study the Bible, he cannot know anything about the world. There is only one rule in the world they need to follow, which is love thy neighbor. And I
Mm.
think this is all about compassion. And I think this is the way you are approaching everything that you do, which is make me hopeful um, to see coaches that are dealing with things that are very hustle related usually are finding ways to adapt it to the special needs of their clients. And I'm really happy to hear that you're healthy, of course, but doing something that not only help you but help empower others. And I want to um because I'm aware of our spoons level, of course. So usually my podcast is not one of those 3 hours conversation. I think we can of course talk as much because we have a lot in common. But the beautiful thing about this is we can always do a part two and save some spoons. I always have a little tradition that I ask the guest to ask me a question, and they don't need to prepare it in advance because then it's another task they need to do. But based on our conversation, is there anything that you want to ask me?
Would you trade your mental development and all the growth you've done as a person, if you had a chance to trade it like for a normal body that did not keep you prisoner? That trade-off that you had to do you find that it has brought you somewhere
Well,
special?
this is one of the top five best question I've been ever asked. Probably, it hits very close. Because I'm in pain right now, it's very tempting to say that, of course, I will. But I was on my way to a very mediocre life. I'm not judging other people. In my own terms, the life that I would have been voiceless at. And
Mhm.
I reached a level of self development in my own eyes that that's all that matters, that I will never trade. I think that if I was living in a healthy body, I would probably end up in a job I don't like, being divorced like half of the people in Israel. Uh, it's that bad right now. Um, being unhappy, and then eventually I will get to the same place of chronic illness. So no, and it's very hard to answer this because the amount of suffer and pain and loneliness and ignorement and that you feel that you have no voice in this world is so hard to bear. But the fact that I'm choosing the development over the healthy body, I think can serve as an inspiration for other people, that I think there is a reason why we're like this, and we should make the most out of it. And the people who are not afraid to look down the well, this dark well, um, they come up amazing on the other side, and they do amazing stuff with their life. And it doesn't matter if you decide to live a quiet life or you want to be an entrepreneur or change the world. It's something that you carry with you. Wow, thank you for this really amazing question. I was really caught off guard here.
But I think that, yeah, you're welcome. My brain is pedaling faster, but
Yeah.
what I'm thinking is that it's it's so strange because now, even though I still have my thyroid issues and it's still chronic, I still consider myself mostly pain free, because like now it's solved for me. So everything I've been through needs to be used in a way that can build a bridge between people who don't know,
Mm.
just like you, and
Yeah,
people who do know.
yeah,
Um, and so I think what I like about working with analytical people is trying to see where the logical fallacies or
yeah,
where the pitfalls are, and try to inject a dose of like mindfulness or compassion, or just question them and try to reconnect them with that part of them that
yeah,
maybe they have pushed aside so they could focus on the hard skills. um, so I'm trying to help people find this balance, and by doing so I do believe that even if they don't, how can I say that, just by being themselves and being a little bit more aware, they can make people around them and the people that they meet feel a little bit safer and more comfortable. So I think that's my goal: opening people's minds to other realities and helping them structure their own, so they can also save their own spoons. Even if they don't have chronic illness, they still have this level that doesn't necessarily drain at the same speed, at the same
yeah,
pace. But still, we're so impatient. We've seen it during the pandemic. Everyone is impatient.
yeah,
Everyone has fears and frustrations. And sometimes they do tend to believe that people will screw them over.
yeah,
And I don't think like that. I think that what the world needs right now is just more people that care,
yeah.
and more people that will uplift each other without wanting anything in return, just using their knowledge for the good.
I think we're educators. I think
Mm,
this is our task, and leading with compassion. You said so many important things now in the last answer, that instead of adding to it, I think it's just a beautiful way to end our conversation, because
mhm.
I'm taking so much for it myself, and I'm sure our listeners will do too.
I
Um,
hope so.
it's been really a delightful conversation, and I feel there's so much more that we can talk about. And I will, of course, as mentioned before, will link your work down below. And it's so interesting what you can do for people like us, Punis, people that have neurodivergent challenges, entrepreneurs, and anybody who needs a bit of structure in their life to connect the analytical to the emotional side. Is there anything else you want to add?
now the ADHD comment just made me smile because one of my clients sent me a meme this week about ADHD and just told me like you're working with a bunch of ADHD people, and I'm like, yeah, I love the chaos. I love their minds. They just need a little structuring, but they're so amazing and they think outside the box and they have those
Yeah,
many great qualities that we don't see every day. So I think that if you're ADHD or if you have autism, it doesn't matter. Just be yourself and just do the cool things that your brain knows how to do,
yeah.
and let's make it work. Like that's my take on it.
I would never want to shut it down with medications or so on. Yeah, I struggled in university and school and so on because like it's not easy to retain attention, but those parallel thinking processes that happening and outside the box ideas led me to everything I did and what I'm doing today. I think
Mhm.
that I think that this is an interesting take that I did not think about, that there is a way to coach you into better productivity, but not from the hard, you do this test kind of thing, but to really believe in yourself and have commitment and accountability with yourself. I think a lot of people would probably find it very useful. And
Yeah.
your materials and social media will be linked here too. So your profiles are very interesting. We're connected in Instagram and in Threads, and in Threads, what we like about it is the more personal side. And Instagram, you share so many wonderful tools that, like this matrix, that is extremely helpful, and I can reshare it also with my
Mhm.
accounts. And I just wanted to thank you, Elise. I know we're completely with a crazy time difference, and that you took the time to
Yeah.
have this wonderful conversation and being my guest today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Um, I'm just like my brain is sparkling with ideas. So if you want to do a part two, I'm down for that. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, no, I just think that this has been delightful. I'm really honored to be your guest, and I hope it helps someone. I'm still a little bit new to the field, so my webpage is under construction, but you can still book discovery calls. Um, and reach me with the contact form. And I'm also on Instagram, of course, and Threads. Uh, but I love meeting new people, so don't be shy. Come and just have a chat. Send me a DM, and yeah,
Thank you so much, Elise. And I recommend you to right now after our conversation to note those ideas, because sometimes I have this crazy idea in the subway and then I don't note it down. That's why I have my note apps like as close to my finger as I can in my phone. Thank you so much for being here, and I see you in part two.
yeah. Let's do that. Have a nice day. Well, evening for you.
Have a have a good morning.